It's BRS-TV Refact Wednesday, and today we answer what is a calcium reactor, how it works, and why it's essentially an on-demand, one-part machine. And I'm pretty sure answering if a calcium reactor is right for you, all that's coming up. Hey, I'm Ryan with BRS-TV Refacts, where every week we do our best to help you guys enjoy your tanks and find new ways to explore the hobby with quick, straight-to-the-point answers to your questions. If you're exploring a calcium reactor for the first time, this is it. This video is going to explain how it works. Today, I'm not just going to share how a calcium reactor works, but I think maybe the easiest possible way to understand it. Hopefully, I can live up to that challenge. At first glance, a calcium reactor is a ridiculous network of tubes and looks kind of intimidating, and I guess assembly does mean that you need to follow the directions, but after that first 20 minutes, it isn't rocket science. It's just dosing calcium and alkalinity to a reef tank. So where the complexity often comes in is listening to a dozen different people with totally different methods and trying to understand who's right. The problem is they're all right for their own specific approaches, skill sets, budgets, and desires for their tank, but the mesh of conflicting advice is hard to assemble and utilize. So today is just the way that I approach a calcium reactor, and I'll just share my own personal goal or priority is the highest percentage path to success. There are cheaper ways or ways that take up less space, but once you understand the easiest or highest percentage path to success, it's easier to calculate the rest. So how does this work? I think I'll explain that in 3 quick steps of why we do it, what it's doing, and then how it does it. Starting with that why, last week we started the series off with why reefers use calcium reactors over common options like 2-parts, so I won't cover that again in detail, but it's typically savings with super high demand tanks, some amount of trace elements. Done right, it can be lower maintenance, cool factor with the natural approach, or you're a gear junkie, where gear is a big part of the hobby, all of which are totally legit reasons. Moving on to what a calcium reactor does, hopefully if you're considering a calcium reactor, you already understand the fact that LPS and SPS stony corals in our systems uptake calcium and alkalinity out of the water to form their calcium carbonate skeleton. As they deplete the available calcium and alkalinity in the water, you need to replace it. There's a high likelihood that you're currently doing that with either dosing a 2-part liquid calcium and alkalinity additive, or you plan on doing that with your system design. Nice thing about 2-parts is they have a stable concentration of calcium and alkalinity in each jug, so adjusting to slower or faster consumption is as simple as testing and occasionally adjusting your dosing pump to dose just a bit less or a bit more to adjust for growth or other changes in the tank. I'm going to note right now that one of the biggest things you can do to make a calcium reactor easy is make the solution inside the reactor stable and consistent, just like the 2-part in a bottle. So calcium reactor is just an alternative to 1 to 4-part calcium and alkalinity additives. The solution the calcium reactor doses to the tank is often referred to as the effluent, and essentially is an on-demand 1-part calcium and alkalinity additive. Might be easiest to think of it as something akin to those on-demand soda makers many people have at home, rather than buying in endless cases of soda or carbonated water, which is just overpriced water, CO2, and flavoring. Many people get their own CO2 canister, have water at home already, and then add their own flavoring to create highly efficient, on-demand carbonated drinks at home. After the equipment investment, it's not just cheaper for a household that drinks a lot of carbonated drinks, but also easier, and you can skip the hassle of going to the store. The calcium reactor is the same thing, but for your reef tank, CO2 canister, water from your tank, and then concentrated calcium and alkalinity in the form of calcium reactor media, which in many cases is just old coral skeleton. How it works is a bit different. In this case, the reactor is just lowering the pH inside the reactor until the calcium media or old coral pieces dissolves into calcium and alkalinity. So in many cases, while your tank might be a 9 DKH alkalinity, the water inside the reactor is a concentrated solution in actually 30 DKH, so dosing the effluent or water inside the reactor will raise the tank's DKH to match the daily consumption. So that's really all there is to it. Old coral skeleton melted into a dissolved liquid and then dosed to the tank. More or less an on-demand calcium solution, but better put, an on-demand calcium reactor for your reef tank's calcium and alkalinity needs. So that sounds simple enough, so why so much mystery, or why does everyone make it sound so hard? Well, there are just easier approaches than others. Here are 2 steps to making it easy. Set the reactor up to make a stable concentration, and then just set the right dose. Effectively the same mentality as 2-part, but you have a system that produces the 1-part on demand as you need it. In that spirit, step 1 is use the calcium reactor to make that stable concentration of solution. Just like 2-part, I want the reactor to produce a solution with a known and stable amount of calcium and alkalinity in it. If you can do that, The only thing that will change is how much of that liquid you dose, which is the easiest way to approach this. The easiest way to get a stable concentration of calcium and alkalinity from your reactor is use a pH controller to automatically dose CO2 to your reactor. If you use a pH controller to peg the pH to say 6.5, you're effectively pegging the concentration of calcium and alkalinity in the solution as well. This is something Randy showed pretty convincingly in a BRS TV Investigates episode. With our setup, if you peg the reactor's pH at 6.5, then the liquid in the reactor and what's dosed to the tank will be 35 DKH. That number scales up and down with pH changes, so a stable concentration is as easy as setting your pH controller to a specific pH. We suggest 6.6 as a good number. Once you use your pH controller to peg that stable concentration inside your reactor, it's now effectively that one part on-demand machine. All you need to do is figure out how much to dose and adjust. For instance, if you're currently dosing 20 milliliters a minute and your tank's levels are dropping up to 25 milliliters a minute, still dropping, go to 30. Again, basically the same as tuning a two-part dose. There are even calculators for this if you want a more precise approach. You can use a continuous duty dosing pump like the one from Chemours to control the dose, which gives you a dial and a digital readout of the dose, and obviously easy, but reactors like the Vertex calcium reactor have a flow meter and needle valve on it, which is close to as easy. You can also just use a needle valve and measure how much effluent you get in a minute, all easy and effective. By this point, you're either saying, hey, this is for me or not. If it is, you might want to check out this special playlist I put together on our approach to tuning a reactor. The information there will make it easier and increase the success rate, so check it out for sure. I'll see you all next Wednesday with the next batch of BRS TV Refacts.